Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for another webinar in the Food Industry Executive Webinar Series. Excited to have you all here today for What If People and Technology Could Make Each Other Better, sponsored by Lifecycle Engineering. A couple of housekeeping items. If you have any questions at all, please drop those into the questions panel, and we will answer them at the end of the webinar. We will also send out a recording following the broadcast. And Mary, I will pass it over to you. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Mary Farron. I'm the founder of On Purpose, Inc. We help organizations capture and share the stories of the value they create in the world. I'm super excited to be here today to introduce to you the panel of experts from Lifecycle Engineering. Lifecycle is really a driver in operational excellence by finding untapped potential of people, processes, and technology. Our panel today, I'll start with Lemuel Sagadaka. He's the Vice President of the Reliability Consulting Group. He is a leader in operational excellence and technology, helping organizations around the world leverage technology to get more from their assets. Next up, Rick Wheeler, Vice President of Professional Services. Rick has built a career as a proven change agent. He has spent decades in operational leadership roles. He's been in the trenches on the front line. He's taken all of those learnings to help organizations assess their current situation, develop the roadmap for change, and create the business results you're looking for. And last, Tara Hallwegner, Manager of Product Development and Intellectual Property here. Tara has developed over 25 training and learning products, all with a focus on high impact learning for lasting change. Tara's played a key role in developing the LCE playbook, a cloud-based toolkit and coach, providing the roadmap for building a smart culture to drive smart manufacturing. The big question for our group today, so welcome everybody. The big question for our group today, amidst this increasing pressure in the food industry to do more with less, what can you do to optimize the performance of your operations to generate tangible business results? We talk about tangible results, we're talking about increasing throughput, lowering costs, improving safety and predictability of your business. So here we go, everyone. Thanks for joining. The first question goes over to Lemuel. With the market challenges being what they are, so much pressure on the business, could you just give us a picture of what the opportunities and challenges are that we're seeing today in the market?
Sure. Sure. Thank you. A few of the challenges we often see or hear about from our customers are labor shortages, rising input costs, and supply chain disruption. So if we focus on labor shortage, often the candidates or existing workers do not have the right skill sets, or the companies having difficulty attracting new and younger talent in the industry because it is not a technology company like Google, Microsoft, Meta, and others. More and more companies are struggling to get people in the plants. So using technology to attract and enhance working conditions for people or the workers is the key to change the dynamics of the hiring success. If we focus on rising input costs, it is a hard challenge, don't get me wrong. Material costs are higher, therefore minimizing waste is critical to keep the price to your customer remains competitive. By removing waste, one can optimize production costs by eliminating issues in producing the product and driving quality levels up. Last but not least is supply chain disruption, which causes short supply. Because of this, we must be able to optimize schedules by being flexible and nimble in our production. What I mean by that is having the ability for smaller production runs as necessary to meet demand and being flexible to change product on demand depending on the needs of the marketplace. The key to this is quick changeover.
Right on. Thanks, Lemuel. So we've got labor shortage, rising input costs, supply chain disruptions, which causing short supply. So thanks for those comments. I think what we'd want to do now is put a poll out to the group to ask what are some of your biggest challenges in your business or as you see them.
Thank you so much, Mary. I will launch our first poll. The question is, what are the biggest challenges in your business now? Labor shortage, rising input costs, supply chain disruption, unexpected maintenance, or shop safety. And I will give you guys a minute or so to respond, and then we will go over the answers. Okay, just a few more seconds to put in your votes. Wonderful, thank you guys. So here are the results. It looks like it's tied between labor shortage and supply chain disruption, and also a little bit of unexpected maintenance as well.
Yeah, I seeing these results, it basically aligns on what I spoke about the labor shortage because it's very hard to get people hired because of the technology and the challenges within the industry. Supply chain disruption, that does revolve around keeping the cost down because there is minimal amount of product out there. And the unexpected maintenance, that is a key area that really falls under getting the product out the door, making sure that you're working optimally in order to drive performance throughout the plant. So totally agree with this.
Yeah. Thanks, Lemuel. I would imagine too that the world that we're living in now is even amplified by some of the disruptions around the pandemic. Can you speak a little bit to how the last 2 years and the pressure cooker that businesses have been running under the pandemic conditions? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, the ability to work remotely or work with minimal staff at the sites were and is now critical. This created a strong need to use technology to have an oversight of operations performance. And being able to support via video calls, we often see that. Being able to do self-training, which is key to success, or even guided assistance to become operational as quickly as possible in order to run operations and with minimal oversight by an SME or another expert.
Right. Thanks. And what about the rising the inflation rates going up? I mean, that's been a key thing we're all facing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. To remain competitive in the marketplace where margins are already low in food and beverage, being able to minimize material waste is key to keep costs in line. Also, by increasing your quality levels to get product out the door is key. So therefore, keeping your COGS or cost of goods sold optimized is key to keep your cost controlled.
Yeah, totally appreciate that. So then the next question is around, and I imagine if you're in the audience, you might be thinking, in the food and beverage business, the margins are pretty slim already. Is it really possible for businesses to do more with less? Like we talk about it, but is it really possible?
Absolutely. As we discussed earlier, we can minimize waste, such as ingredients, product and packaging, by providing controls and information to the workers through predictive analytics, as an example, or simply just using the data to contextualize into information to the worker to create a corrective action. Oftentimes, that's not being done. We have to provide ways to be proactive rather than reactive to a situation before waste occurs. Another aspect is looking to extend the available time for production by increasing time between maintenance, as the poll suggested, right? And then also increasing OEE, decreasing MTTR, or mean time to repair, and FTFR, it's first time, first rate. This will allow less disruption in operations, therefore being able to do more what is currently in place.
Right. It sounds like, thank you. It sounds like getting ahead of things versus reacting is a big shift required to be able to do more with less. It seems like the theme woven through some of your comments there. Thank you for that. So we've also seen a lot, the influx of technology solutions into the market as well, and the inclination for businesses to, sign big checks for technology platforms, et cetera. Are organizations overestimating what technology can do for their business?
My perspective and my experience, I do not believe executives are overestimating what is possible with smart technology, but rather they're underestimating the importance of setting a good foundation for people and process before applying the technology.
Right.
The old adage of bad data in results in bad data out still holds very true when it comes to smart transformation. Smart technology can enhance the way people make decisions by contextualizing disparate data and providing the needed information to drive action. With people, process, and technology in place, you can drive operational excellence in your organization.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So it's not really like, yes, technology is a solution, but technology in the absence of the people, processes, and tools in place, you can't do one without the other, which is the whole essence of this, how people and technology can make each other better. So thank you for that, Lemuel. So now I'd like to move over to some questions for Rick around some examples, like give us some idea of what's possible inside the walls of an operation around, getting ahead, creating more predictability in the business. Can you tell us what, what people can do, what organizations can do, and give us some examples of that?
Sure. Yeah, I think Lemuel set it up pretty well, talking about kind of the major buckets that we see, and certainly, in the last couple of years, we've certainly seen a lot of focus around this labor, right? The labor issues in the marketplace, that people aren't moving into the industry. They have options now, can work remotely. People can choose to have a different work situation. So and just the graying of the workforce, right? So that people are retiring at a rate, they're choosing it's time to go now. So certainly a lot of these things that we talk about, they go back to the people, right? You have to have people to run your operation. We've all read the stories about lights out manufacturing and all the dream of the new technology where we basically have robots doing our stuff. But the reality is most companies just are nowhere close to that today. So certainly, you can expect to see those through deploying these kind of processes and understanding the people, the technology, and the processes. You can certainly expect to see reductions in downtime. Certainly, we work with clients that have demands in the marketplace that they currently cannot meet. In some cases, they've made nice investments in the technology. It's not that they haven't bought the latest machine. They've installed the sensors. They've done the technology side of things, but they didn't do that foundational things. They didn't build what we like to call a smart culture, right? They haven't really aligned those people and processes, technologies. So and a big recently, a big recent trend is the whole, ESG, the whole environmental, social, and governance push, right? To make sure that we understand as workers and people in the marketplace what we can expect from our companies, from our jobs, how they should be socially responsible and environmentally responsible. That certainly has been a big trend recently, and a lot of the work that we've done in recent past supports those type of things.
Right. Thanks, Rick. So at a theme level, you can see all of these different pain points and touch points inside organizations. Can you give us examples of some specific examples of what you've seen inside plants? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we see companies, they try to improve performance, as I mentioned, maybe go out and buy a new MES or buy a new CMMS. They take the silver bullet approach to technology, and that will solve our problems, right? We see that happen. A recent example that we worked with a company that was 2 years into their startup. They had designed, they claimed themselves to be the most automated bakery plant in the United States, right? They had bought all the technology. They had really spent a lot of money on state-of-the-art MES systems, a very, very top-of-the-line CMS system, but they still weren't getting the production that they needed out of that facility. So what we were able to see there is while they had invested in technology, they hadn't engaged the workforce at all, right? The workforce really didn't even understand what the process was supposed to happen. They were having a lot of waste. They were having a lot of problems like that. So we went in and we started with our assessment process, helped understand what their gaps were. We applied some Lean Six Sigma type tools to understand value stream mapping, where the losses were occurring. They brought us in to look at one specific line that was actually a line they were making a lot of the baked goods for a large nationwide sandwich shop. So and they weren't able to keep up with demand at that time. So what we figured out how to get the employee engagement. We got all the hands on deck. We went out and talked to the people many times. They were replaying to us that this is really the first time anybody's asked me why my machine's not running properly, right? So really took a very hands-on approach. again, then looked at those processes they were operating in. We were able to go out there and find some mechanical problems, some misalignment from one system to the next, deployed some best practice business processes into those areas, but really worked with that employee engagement and the employee alignment. Again, kind of what we talk about as a SMART culture. On the initial pass-through, we were actually able to identify $500,000 annual waste product. So the initial pass-through would while at the same time we improved OEE of that line to 77%. We reduced the waste of each shift by 30%, increased throughput from on the shift by 5%, and the total yield from production was 9% yield. So some really great benefits. Resulted in, and they said, okay, let's go do that for the rest of the plant. And after deploying the SMART culture, helping them build these processes, getting the alignment of the people, the processes, and the technology, they were able to identify about $10 million in additional product opportunity. Not to mention they were meeting their demand. They had less waste going to landfill, all those great ESG type things as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting. You hear a lot about the investment in technology and organizations totally committed to going all in, and they do, and then come up against results that are underwhelming. So I love this example for showing truly it brings to life what you're saying about people and technology making each other better. Here you've got all the tech stack, you've got the right equipment in place, and just working through the people and processes was able to get them where they needed to go. Thanks for that. So that sort of brings me to the next question is, how would you describe a SMART culture? We talk about if a SMART culture drives smart operations, what's involved in creating a SMART culture?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been in business, in this asset management business for 45 years, and certainly, the technology is racing ahead, faster and faster as we go. But certainly, we have always believed and found through that time that it starts with the people, right, and the employee engagement. So to us, a SMART culture is they're educated, they're aligned, they are involved in the mission of the company. They understand what's the company's purpose and how do the things that they do support that. They also use proven best practices, right? They're not out there trying to reinvent the wheel. They're not smart companies, smart cultures don't go out there and say, well, we're just going to start with a blank piece of paper. They go out there and they analyze the marketplace and they go, okay, what's worked in other places in my experience? And then they use their experience and leverage, engage their people to customize and to adapt those best practices to their environment, to their specific needs. This isn't about excellence for the sake of excellence. This is about excellence for the sake of meeting your business objectives and meeting your business goals. And then finally, they leverage that technology. So we look at SMART culture really is that culmination of the right technology to enhance the processes that are enabled by the people, right? So we're really having that ownership at the site level, because again, at the end of the day, the people are the people that are operating your facility, maintaining your facility, keeping your facility clean, operating, purchasing raw materials. That's really where the success is going to be determined. If they are aligned and understand and have the right tools and ability to make the informed decisions, you're going to have the best success for meeting your business objectives.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. It's true that what they say, the soft stuff is the hard stuff, which is the people piece, is not an easy one to tackle. And so I think, I could see business leaders out there saying, yeah, I'd love to create that. We've got all the right things in place, or many of the right things. Or even if you're operating a facility that's somewhat challenged and you've got some older equipment or whatever the case may be, that hurdle of getting the people working in lockstep is not an insignificant one. For those people who are thinking about that resistance that they might get internally, what's your advice to them?
Yeah, I think, our experience shows that, all change, if you think about it from a business standpoint or a personal standpoint, right, it starts with a dissatisfaction of the current state, right? You have to truly not be satisfied with something about your life, or you have no reason to go through the energy and the pain sometimes of change. So really it kind of starts with understanding what do I need to be different, right? What needs to be different about the direction I as a person or a business or whatever are on, right? So but it has to be enabled. We have a very few cases where it can be pushed from the grassroots, right? The grassroots can certainly have the most near-term pain from the dissatisfaction, but senior leadership really has to support that and provide that sponsorship. We find that without executive sponsorship, without sustained executive sponsorship, the change can only go so far. And I kind of describe it as the leadership can allow the organization to change. The organization then has to take it upon themselves to decide what change is and what that looks like. They can't. The leadership can't come tell everyone how to do their job in a more effective and smarter way, but they can allow that. They can set that foundation for it. So really, it's successful leadership. Then one of the things we also are firm believers in is then educating the people, right? Giving them the training, give them the education and knowledge that they can now enact in this new world. That they we find that during times of change, there's a lot of resistance to change because people fear the unknown and they're afraid, well, I know how to write a work order in my old system. I don't know if I'll know how to do that in the future, as an example. So you got to get to that personal level of desire and support for the change, and then educate them on how they will survive and what that will look like, and engage them in that journey.
Thanks, Rick. That's awesome. It's fair to say too, what I'm hearing you say is that without that executive sponsorship, there really is limited change you could make, sort of point or limited solutions inside the organization. But if you're trying to make wholesale change, and if we're trying to get increase operational efficiency, increase productivity, increase safety, those are across operation type initiatives. So you do need buy-in from everyone. So what we thought we might do now is our second poll, just to get a sense from the group how they're feeling about what impact, like what are the biggest barriers that are impacting your optimizing of the team performance.
Thank you so much, Mary. The second poll is, what are your biggest challenges related to optimizing the performance of your team? We have tenure, turnover, engagement, skill set or experience, and tribal knowledge. And we will leave this open for about a minute to collect your responses, and then we will show the results. Okay, just a few more seconds. So the results are about 14% said tenure, 29% for turnover, and 14% for engagement. And skill set and experience was about 43%.
Wow. That's actually not surprising to see from our audience. I am recalling a little bit, and you can stop sharing the poll results now, because this is something that we're seeing across industry as well. It's not only a challenge for food and beverage manufacturing. But I did want to build a little bit, and this is a nice segue given the results of the poll, on what Lemuel was discussing about the labor shortage, and what Rick was sharing about shifting the mindset of the workforce to operate in a new way. That is part of the essence of a smart culture. So if we want to go back to discovering what smart cultures are, a major part of what they are is investing in the human assets. So outside of all the technological investments or the new design investments, new facility investments, it's about investing in the human assets to build their capabilities and skills. Because as we've stated several times in this webinar, it's the people behind the processes that make the difference. And more importantly, it's about setting up an environment for them so that they can learn, but not only so that they can learn, but that learning and that these skills and that the tribal knowledge, which a fair amount of people did assert was an issue, is that can be transferred into the workplace. And what does that mean? Well, that's what we call high impact learning. And this is learning that changes behavior to produce results, but not only to produce results, but to produce sustainable results. And that's actually one of the reasons that that we built the LCEsmartr playbook. This is a collection of our over 40 years of experience and industry best practices, and we've curated it in an online toolkit to empower maintenance and reliability leaders to be able to step their organization through a transformation from this reactive type environment into a proactive asset management focused facility. So if I could, if the audience would be interested, I'd love to show you this playbook and this toolkit, because I think it brings to life some of the aspects that both Lemuel and Rick have spoken to. So is everybody ready? Hold on to your hat.
Yes. So Tara, while you're setting that up, I think another point around best practices and tools and guidelines and is, when we see the results around skill set and experience being a challenge, or high turnover is a challenge, we've got lots of new people in roles or existing people in new roles. And so wouldn't some of these practices then sort of future proof, who lands in what role, because you're giving them the tools to help them be successful?
Absolutely. So that's one of the sustainability pieces, and I'll speak to how establishing standard work processes and best practices enable sustainability, about how you apply customized tools and you can harmonize your organization around reliability and share these practices company-wide. But let me step you through this, and I think it might come alive for everybody who's on today. Can everybody see my screen now? The LCEsmartr playbook. This is a home screen. And we've organized the playbook in the following sections. First, we have our implementation guide, and this is the heart of a transformation. This guide builds expectations and takes the visitor through what we call the 5 phases of a transformation, from visualization through business case, and provides all of the change management tools that one would need to lead their organization through a transformation. As well, we've added job aids that are throughout, so in real time you can step through the journey of a transformation from reactive to more reliable and stable operations, and build expectations for your team on what they should expect to experience along the way. Next, because what Rick said about one must develop what exactly was a dissatisfaction was the term that you used, Rick, of the current state. I think that's putting it very kindly. If you need a change, you're hungry for it, right? But in order to understand really, well, what are my current operations? How do I perceive how my business is executing? And we focus primarily on 3 areas of discipline: reliability engineering, work management, and materials management. We see that combination as a driver of foundational change to prepare for a digital transformation. But we have this assessment in here we've kind of curated for people to really reflect on what are these 3 areas critical to reliability and asset management, and how are we performing. Next is where people typically jump to, which are the standard work. These are the best practice processes that your workforce can execute in order to produce the kind of results that we want to see. I'm going to go ahead and show one of our processes that our customers shared with us they were able to use to great effect. The preventive maintenance optimization process. In our toolkit, we share single point lessons about our standard work. We also share the process flows and a definition of what each of those steps mean, as well as provide some job aids. So by using this process and education, we were able to, or one of our customers was able to take a problem asset that they had that was experiencing 52 unplanned downtime events. That was about 64 hours of unplanned downtime. And through using a foundational process of reliability engineering, the preventive maintenance optimization process, they were able to go within 6 months to zero. Zero.
Wow.
I mean, it was a huge, that was an individual contributor, right? So think about from an organizational transformation, if that was an individual contributor, what can your organization do to get ready to allow the technology to have the best chance it can be to optimize even further? We include what we've been talking about a lot in this webinar, which is education. So in the playbook, we have foundational e-learning for our 3 primary work streams: maintenance, work management, and reliability work management. So this is planning and scheduling. Then reliability centered maintenance, kind of the ground work for your reliability engineers and aspiring. And then our storeroom management. This having the ability to train people across your organization and having the comprehensive online training to where you can piece out different lessons for different levels of your organization to learn allows you to build a knowledge baseline and a common language enterprise-wide around reliability and asset management, which bridges that gap from the not understanding, you know, how the concepts work or how my role is impacting reliability around the plant, to an awareness of yes, what I do every day impacts how my site runs and how I make a difference at the end of the day. It also helps with the labor shortage and quick onboarding because this is not this online training can be done on people's schedules and is flexible to meet their needs. Finally, something that I wanted to share that our customers have also found very helpful is to have some interactive forms and interactive reports that they can use to monitor progress across the site, as well as across our areas of discipline, focus, reliability engineering, work management, and materials management. So the team leaders can go in and monitor their progress on a periodic basis. This can also be customized, but we build this with our customers to help them have visibility while they're going through and experiencing the journey to smarter operations, and they can see their progress in real time and how all of their work is paying off. So what I thought about just sharing this little tour of the playbook is that we could resonate with the folks that are on our webinar today, as well as you who are going to listen to the recording, corralling your workforce around the concepts of standard work best practices, building that engagement through change management and a strong vision for what the future should be, and then organizing, educating, and motivating your workforce, what has been our recipe of success for 40 years in helping people get the results like Rick was speaking to earlier.
Thanks, Tara. That's awesome. I love seeing the results in there too, so people can monitor their progress against their initiative as well. That's super exciting. In some of the cases, talking to business leaders challenged with these initiatives, the idea that this all could live inside a playbook. Could an organization just access the playbook and do what everything they need to do in your experience? Or what if they need more? What if I've spoken to a reliability leader who said that transformation often doesn't happen from within. If you need transformation, you need some help. So while the playbook offers all the tools and means, what happens if an organization needs a little bit more help?
Well, it's definitely something that we encounter, and you're absolutely right. This speaks also to what we were discussing earlier about having executive sponsorship. So, but every playbook customer definitely has an LCE contact and a partner to discuss additional support needed or how we could jumpstart the efforts. And I know, Rick, I'd like for you to jump in because I know that this is something you're passionate about as well.
Yeah, I think, an important part of the playbook is, like I say, we've been in business 45 years. So we've been doing implementing these business processes for a very long time. And the playbooks are a relatively new incarnation. But what we found was it was really our internal playbook, right? This is really how we manage projects, how we support clients through that change journey over these years and all the lessons we've learned through that time. So while the playbook is designed to be a self-guided tour, if that's you choose, we also have deep knowledge in how these processes should be deployed, what sequence, how you go about the change management, how you engage the employees in that journey. And we've learned sometimes the hard way about how to best do that. So while it is a self-guided tour, we're certainly standby available to support that with whatever level of support that a client might need to actually make these things a meaningful transition.
Right. One of the things that stood out for me as you guys introduced me to the playbook originally was that, organizations, that, there are lots of ways and lots of processes you could create and adopt. But if the organization is really about producing X material for the market, they don't really want to spend their time and energy and resources creating processes that really, use the proven processes, to your point earlier, Rick, that have been developed and proven over time, organization after organization after organization. Then you spend, as a manufacturer, your time implementing them and optimizing the performance. You don't want to be hiring people to develop the process. You want it to be implemented. So yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Right on. All right.
So I feel like we have been discussing a lot about smart culture, and we also showed the playbook, but I'd like to hear from our audience if we could open up another poll to hear from our audience about what do they perceive as the biggest obstacle, excuse me, to your team's adoption of a smart culture.
Thank you. We have the options for that answer, or for that question, is internal champion, proven practices, proven process for change, funding, and dedicated resources. I will give about 1 minute to collect votes. Okay, just a few more seconds. Okay, so it looks like we have a winner at dedicated resources, followed by funding, proven process for change, and proven practices.
I find that kind of interesting. I mean, we've talked about a bit already about the shortage of resources, right? I've not ever been in a facility that said, oh, we have plenty of people to take on all these projects. So, you know, I think that's a universal feeling that we run our organizations very lean and therefore dedicated resources to focus on a project. But like this doesn't surprise me that would be one of the obstacles.
Well, and I think a lot of these also point to something that both you and Lemuel spoke to earlier about executive sponsorship. Although we have created the playbook and we have been very successful, you know, at helping our customers achieve results, we have encountered experiences where the executive sponsorship has been the gold standard, if you will, and then all of these other elements, I think, speak to that necessity for an executive sponsorship. Do you, our panel, have any opinions on that?
Well, I would also say, you know, that I would add that, you know, it's hard for people to understand resources when you're living in a reactive world. So everything you're doing is very inefficiently, right? So, you know, just as a simple measurement, you know, wrench time is a common measurement in the maintenance department. So how much time are my technicians actually spending working with their tools, with their skills, versus looking for drawings, waiting on permits, looking for materials, all these type of things. So if you know, typically it's less than 20% wrench time. So if you can double that, right, you can actually unlock, you know, kind of the hidden factory, but it's the hidden factory of people, right? You can unlock so many more resources in your organization by having a planned, scheduled, organized, predictable world, right? So again, most organizations are staffed to be reactive. That's how most businesses are run. They're basically, that's just the reality that you see. But by becoming more proactive, you actually can accomplish more with the same amount of resources that you have today, but because you will be more planned.
Yeah, if I can add a little bit to what Tara said and what Rick said, dedicated resources, sometimes it is critical to have that, because that's how you develop your internal champions moving forward with the transformation program. Those dedicated resources are not just the decision makers on how things will be done in the future, but they are going to be the somewhat owners that brings it out to the whole organization and be responsible for the success of the program.
And I think sometimes you also have to be willing to invest in the, you know, the fact that if it's something you're going to do once, why would you try to teach your people to do it, right? That's the time to go to an outside support to get that task done, while your people can focus on the stuff that will be done time and time again. So again, it's also a matter of kind of prioritizing where your internal resources are going to be focused versus bringing in an external resource to help you with a bolus of work that's maybe once and done, and then you're moving on to something else.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. That's a great point. I think bringing this back to the sort of the impetus for having this whole conversation in the first place is manufacturers are trying to do more with less, and so it's not like they can go out there and, you know, acquire new resources, new technology, better equipment just like that. But I love what you said about uncovering the hidden workforce that already exists. If we can be more, predictive and planful about the work we do, we're going to uncover additional, scope of resource. And the same is true for the assets, right? There's the hidden factory as well. If we can run things differently, so it is a path to getting more with less. So smart culture driving smart operations. Getting more for less. Right on. Thanks, everyone. All right. Well, let's open up to. Are we all ready to open it up for questions now? Questions from the group?
Okay, sounds good. Happy to help with that. It looks like we do have a couple of questions for you guys. The first one is, all I hear and read about is digital transformation. We've started with a few projects, but we really just don't know how to prioritize and accelerate the process.
Can I chime in first?
Yeah.
Yeah, digital transformation struggles at times are focused on a limited scope rather than an enterprise scope. So we suggest one must consider full impact to the organization, which Rick spoke about earlier. Right? For example, often a pilot or a POV in some cases is done with one or two assets to try the technology, which can provide a quick ROI, which often will give notice of the possibilities, but oftentimes doesn't get traction if not messaged to the key decision makers. Now, if you consider expanding to all assets or line or plant or even multiple plants, the ROI can be huge, right? Now that you're looking at a true transformation program that gets the eyes and ears of the decision makers, so one must determine criticality for each level so that it can be used as a baseline to drive your transformation program and priorities.
Yeah, and I would say, some recent studies kind of point out that one of the biggest hurdles to digital transformation is lack of understanding of what the real value of digital transformation is, right? So it's one of those things that you read about, you watch the Super Bowl and you see the Watson commercials, right? So this stuff's been talked about very in the public media, right? Very common, and people are saying, okay, we must have some of that. Well, okay, what is that, and how are we going to apply it? And then how do we articulate the value proposition, create the roadmap, really make sure that we deploy it in the right areas that we see that maximum value and return. Like any other, program, I mean, I've been around through, TPM and Six Sigma and all those tools, right? I mean, they're great tools. They all have their purpose, but you need to be strategic in how you're applying them and really understand how we're going to message these and how we're going to show. Unfortunately, in this world, you get sometimes one chance for people to prove that you had a bad idea. So, you want to start in a proactive way that engages people and makes them feel like, hey, there's something to that. In an organizational change perspective, we talk about the what's in it for me, right? You really, at the end of the day, we're really trying to win the hearts and minds of the workforce to understand, hey, there is something in it for me on this digital transformation. Sure, it's going to make my share price better, but really trying to get it down to that what's in it for me, so people have that belief and give you the grace of, hey, I know that it didn't work perfectly, but here's how we can make it work, versus give you the disservice of saying, I told you that wouldn't work, and I'm going to continue to show you that it won't work, right? So those are all parts of the kind of hearts and mind battle that I've seen from a real life standpoint in these transformations over the years.
Thanks,
Wonderful. We do have another one for you. We've tried introducing best practices with digital technology, but our workers are resistant. How can we motivate them to make the shift and maintain a new way?
Should I give it a try one more time? A key to success is really, Rick talked about this previously. So a key to success is involving the people being affected throughout the whole process, not just at the end, rather than bringing them when the project is done, basically, right? By their involvement, they will understand why the program is necessary and will become advocates or champions, which I spoke about earlier, moving forward, because it will give them a sense of ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think also add that educational part, right, Tara, right, and make sure that that they are equipped to be successful in this new world.
Right, that's exactly it. And but for them to be willing to try, it's also winning the hearts and minds first, right? So sharing the why, and how is their life, how is life going to be better, if I learn these new things and if I try these new things, and then celebrating success, right? So providing an environment where people can use the new learning that they get, or the new processes that are established, and then cultivating some quick wins to keep people motivated along the way. And actually, there is a little science behind it. So when you're trying something new, you want to try it within 30 days. But but don't try to eat the elephant all in one bite, right? So if we want to make a goal that will be achievable within 90 days. And this is where a strategy comes into play. So we have the long-term vision of what we're going to have, the $10 million in findings, that Rick was talking about earlier. Heck, even the 6 months of results from that PM optimization, that we were discussing. We need things a little bit sooner than that too, so that we can keep people motivated, let them know that all their efforts are being appreciated.
Wonderful, thank you. We do have one more. We feel like we've done all of this. We've invested in digital tech, we've trained our workers, but something is still missing because we're not seeing a lift in our production numbers. What else can we do?
Yeah. Who's taking that one?
I know.
I can start again, I guess. We talked about training and so many other things. So training is a key part of the equation, right? But one must make sure that all your champions are closely working with everyone to create a sense of urgency, so it will become part of their work habits and eventually change the culture. I believe that's another key aspect to this transformation.
Yeah, and I mean, I've also participated in the ISO 55000 committee, so about asset management, and I often go back to the fact that these things need to be predicated on some stakeholder requirement. There's some purpose we have for these assets, and there's some need we have for them. So if you can always articulate back to the business case of why do we need to implement what, I think then you can show that proof of concept that, hey, this will in fact work. It also helps you understand how big of an investment can you make in this thing, right? Whatever this thing is. So I think a lot of that people buy technology, they get sold technology, and they don't really know exactly where they're going to go with it. I was at a conference recently and was told that a company had spent several $100,000 in sensors and had placed them all over the facility, but had no overlaying software that was collecting the information. No one was doing anything with it. So some very effective salesperson had sold them a bunch of sensors, but they hadn't really sold them a holistic transformation. And I think hopefully what you heard from today is that we really believe in, let's start with the foundation, engage the employees, the processes, then use the technology, or we'll have those unfortunate stories that get told to, well, my company bought that stuff and it didn't work. Well, okay, it would work. Your company didn't buy all of the things it needed to buy, perhaps, right? So I think, again, get back to the foundation.
Yeah, I also like some of the advice you guys gave around start with a win that you can have. Like, don't eat the elephant all at once. Start with something where it has meaningful business impact. It's small enough that you can see those results, and then take it from there. There is this inclination that I've got to do like boil the ocean all at once. It's either all in or all out, and it's something you could do over time to prove it out yourself and get the organization on side too, right?
Yes, and don't underestimate the value of consistency and consistent messaging, right? And staying and staying true to the principles and the vision, of the future and what it takes to get there. Because competing initiatives and the next new thing can always be very tempting. But if you have a path that you're committed to, and leaders, and as Lemuel was saying, champions, consistency and message with that is important.
Yeah, thank you, Tara. I love how you guys throughout your storytelling brought up examples, like real examples of where there were big savings or reduction in issues. Tara, I know that you were thinking about sharing some high level ROI results. Just as a way to wrap up, if we're done with the questions, it might be a nice and this is the type of impact you could have in your business if you take on some of these things.
Sure. So we haven't. Are you seeing the slide now?
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. So we share this across industry. I know that we're talking with one industry in our audience today, but we just wanted to share some of the results that creating a smart culture and focusing on the fundamentals before running to optimization with technology has provided. And everywhere from pharma, which has quite an impressive return on investment in 18 months, you know, to steel and beverages. But as you can see, some of these things takes time, you know, so they do need a consistent focus and promotion, internal promotion about what can we do. Yes, so we also have examples of customer stories, you know, that we can share. These are real. Rick worked on some of these.
Yeah, when I was a young man.
You were a young man. I love it. It's fun. I mean, you know, speaking in theory and, you know, all of the best practices and all the experience goes into your collective knowledge and what you've put into the LCEsmartr playbook. This just sort of bottom lines that there's real business impact associated with this type of effort, and you can uncover the hidden and untapped potential of your factory, of your workforce. So thank you for that. Yes. All right, we are almost out of time. We just wanted to say thank you. Oh, no, Terry had something to say, I could tell.
Oh, no, there was one more closing slide that has some contact information for all of us. So let me know when I should share that.
Yeah, please do. I think now is a good time. Now is the perfect time.
Okay.
Hopefully we've been able to open you know, the discussion and some thoughts around what you might be able to do in your operation. It's the beginning of a conversation, so we've got the contact information for our three panel leaders here, and also this QR code will take you to a walkthrough of the LCEsmartr playbook. So this information will also come out to you in email after this, so you don't have to scramble to write things down or whatever the case may be. But yes, if you'd like to learn more, please reach out. These folks are open and would love to talk to you. Thanks for your time today, everyone. Have a great one.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for Mary, Rick, Lemuel, and Tara for the excellent presentation. Please keep an eye on your inbox for the recording of the event and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.